You already knew you didn't want to say yes. But you did not because it felt right, but because saying no felt heavier. And now you're sitting there, replaying the moment. Why didn't you speak up? Why does love always seem to cost you something? Why do you keep choosing discomfort just to keep someone else comfortable? Here's the truth most people won't tell you. You're not losing power in your relationships. Because people are stronger than you, you're losing power. Because you keep negotiating against yourself. Every time you ignore your limits. Every time you over-explain your no. Every time you choose being liked over being respected, you train people to meet a version of you that isn't real. And the longer you do that, the harder it becomes to recognize yourself. But that changes today, because boundaries are not rejection. They are self-definition. If you're tired of feeling invisible in your own relationships, subscribe to join a community that values self-respect. Don't leave your healing to chance. Hit the bell so we can grow together. Most people don't struggle with boundaries because they're weak. They struggle because they were taught the wrong definition of love. Somewhere along the way, you learned that love meant sacrifice, that being easy to deal with made you valuable, that saying yes kept people close, and saying no risked losing them. So you adapted. You became agreeable, flexible, understanding, even when it cost you. You stretched yourself to keep connections alive. But here's the hidden cost. Every time you abandon your needs to avoid conflict, you create internal conflict. And that conflict doesn't disappear. It turns into resentment. You say it's fine, but it's not fine. You say I understand, but you feel misunderstood. Over time, this disconnect does something dangerous. It splits your identity. You become two people, the one others experience, and the one silently exhausted inside. And eventually, the imbalance shows up everywhere. That I end your energy, in your confidence, even in your finances, because when you don't have boundaries, you don't just give emotions. You give time, money, opportunities. You start making decisions based on fear of losing people, instead of alignment with your future. But boundaries flip, that they don't push people away. They reveal who was never aligned to stay. You say what you mean early. Powerful people don't wait until they're overwhelmed to speak up. They communicate early. Not aggressively, not emotionally. Just clearly, because clarity prevents confusion, and confusion is where manipulation grows. Most people delay honesty because they want to be liked first. But here's the shift. You don't build attraction by hiding your standards. You build respect by revealing them. And yes, some people will walk away. That's not failure, that's filtration. That I'm not comfortable with that. But I'm open to discussing something that works for both of us. I like where this is going, but I take things at a pace that feels right for me. I don't do last-minute plans. I value structure. Notice something. No apology. I then over-explaining. Just ownership. You don't over-explain. Your no over-explaining is not communication. It's negotiation disguised as politeness. When you explain too much, you give people room to debate your boundaries. And the more you justify yourself, the more it sounds like you're unsure. A strong boundary is simple. It doesn't need decoration. It doesn't need defense. It just needs consistency. No, that doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. I understand. But my answer is still no. Silence after that is power. You don't fill the gap. You let them respond. Because your job is not to convince them. Your job is to stand in what you've now. I want to ask you something. Where in your dating life do you struggle to say no without explaining yourself? Have you ever stayed in a situation longer than you should have just to avoid discomfort? And what boundary do you already know you need to set, but haven't yet? Drop your experience in the comments. You're not the only one going through it. And your story might be the one that helps someone else finally. You observe actions more than words are easy. Consistency is effort. And boundaries become powerful the moment you stop believing potential and start respecting patterns, because attraction can blind you. But patterns expose truth. If someone says they value you, but repeatedly disrespect your time, your boundary is not to argue. Your boundary is to adjust your access. You don't try to change behavior you didn't create, you respond to it. Now here's where most people break. Resistance. When you start setting boundaries, people notice. Not always verbally, but behaviorally. They test you, they question you. They may even accuse you of changing. And they're right, you are changing, but not in the way they think. You're no longer available for the version of the relationship that required you to shrink. This is where the psychology of finishing what you start comes in. Anyone can set a boundary once, but power comes from maintaining it when it's uncomfortable. When they ignore it, you reinforce it. When they challenge it, you stay calm. When they try to guilt, you don't move, because inconsistency kills credibility. If you say no, but later give in, you don't just lose the moment, you reset the entire dynamic. So here's the mindset shift. You're not setting boundaries to control them, you're setting boundaries to reveal yourself. And the people who are meant to stay, they adjust, not perfectly, but respectfully. At the end of the day, boundaries are not about distance, they're about direction. They decide where your life is going and who gets to come with you. When you stop chasing approval, you start attracting alignment. When you stop overgiving, you start receiving respect. And when you stop fearing loss, you finally gain control. Here's your North Star. I don't abandon myself to be accepted by others. Say it again. I don't abandon myself to be accepted by others. Because the moment you hold that line, everything changes, not instantly, but permanently. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated with you, share this video with one person who needs to hear this truth. They might be struggling in silence. And if you haven't already, subscribe and join a community that chooses self-respect over self-sacrifice for your next step. Check out the recommended video on how to stop people-pleasing and reclaim your emotional independence. Until then, protect your peace, honor your boundaries, and never negotiate your worth. See you in the next video.